All right, all right. Welcome in. What's going on? Brian Edwards, MajorWager.com. Our first after dark edition of these videos. And I turned on a couple of lights and it looked even weirder. So I hope it's not too dark, but you're not here to look at me. You're here to listen for winners. Hope you tailed me on my Gators last week. That was easy pickings. No panic button whatsoever. Follow me on Twitter at Vegas B Edwards. You know that I was telling anybody that would listen from the top of the mountain. All that 14-0 deficit did was open up in-game opportunities. Money line plus 6.5, plus 9.5. Even after the pick six, I went and dipped a little more. So, but that leaves the Gators in vintage letdown scenario this weekend and a little banged up. Trey Dean out. Oh, he was out last week. But then four other starters are very iffy, if that. Jeremiah Moon, doubtful with a foot injury, left the Georgia game. Did not return. Kyle Pitts, they're saying he's questionable. I do not want my man in uniform this week, and I'm okay if he sits the Vandy game next week, whether he's cleared or not. Do not care. My man needs to get his head right. That was a scary hit. We see tons of car crashes every Saturday and Sunday in the fall, but that one was scary. Offensive guard Stuart Reese, grad transfer from Mississippi State, has played extremely well. He's questionable for the Gators, as is senior safety Brad Stewart. Those two guys, and Pitts and Moon, left last week's game and did not return. Arkansas, best team in America for our purposes, 6-0 against the spread, 3-3 straight up, should be 4-2. But they got hosed at Auburn because Jordan Hare is where things kind of funny happen on occasion. My man, Felipe Franks, glad he's where he's at, but he's playing good. I'll give him credit. 14-3 TDI and T ratio. The Gators, again, vintage letdown scenario. They'll win. Kyle Trask, 22-3 TDI and T ratio. They will win, but they will not cover. I got Arkansas plus 18 early in the week, but it's still 17. Key number. Go ahead and get it. Get it when you can. All right. My favorite game of the week, I'd probably say Arkansas is my second favorite. And actually get a little bit of the over as well. It's down to 60.5. I ignorantly took it at 62. Now, Florida's offense won't be as lethal with Kyle Pitts, but that offense is nasty as it wants to be regardless. Depth galore, weapons galore, all that. Gators averaging 42.4 points per game. The over's 4-1. Combined scores of 86, 62, 79, 58, and 72. 58 being the low one. And hey, Arkansas's offense has scored 28 in 3 of its last 4. My favorite, Boston College. I mean, that thing is just sitting there just looking so good. And Notre Dame, okay, a lot of extra snaps in a double overtime game. I mean, not a ton, but they're in more of a letdown scenario than the Gators are. And the Gators are off their biggest, win in a while. But Notre Dame had not beat a number one team since 93. And how about this memory lane, man? I remember it like it was yesterday. 93, Charlie Ward, Matt Fryer, that team that eventually won the Natty when Nebraska missed that field goal down in Miami in January of 94. But they went, Notre Dame upsets FSU, Lou Holtz, and Glenn Foley and Tom Coughlin lead BC into South Bend the next week. And a southpaw kicker kicks that knuckleball, walk-off field goal. BC wins outright. This is their biggest letdown scenario since then. This is their biggest win since then. And Notre Dame has to go to Chestnut Hill in this spot. Notre Dame 1-4 against the spread as a double-digit favorite this year. Phil Dracovic, BC QB, just like Felipe, playing his old team, transferred from Notre Dame. Dracovic, 12-2 TDINT ratio in BC's last 6 games. Hunter Long, outside of Kyle Pitts, might be the best tight end in the country. Zay Flowers, very, very, very good wide receiver. And BC 9-0-1 against the spread in its last 10 as a home underdog. And they've been an underdog 5 times this year. BC 4-1 against the spread, 2 outright wins. And we're getting this many points. And by the way, if your number's 13.5, buy to the key number 14. We're getting this many points because it was a misleading final on Boston College last week. They only win 16-13 at the Carrier Dome. Very misleading. The Orange got their only touchdown of the game with 21 seconds left. BC had 5 sustained drives. 5 sustained drives, in which it settled for field goals. 3 field goals they made, 2 they missed. They had a 399 to 240 advantage in total offense, 21-14 advantage in first downs, nearly doubled them up time of possession. But it was the ultimate sandwich spot for BC. Notre Dame on deck, coming off not only the heartbreaker at Clemson, but not only emotionally and mentally were they, disappointed and drained, but physically, I mean, that was a 60-minute war at Death Valley. So that was my mistake for back in Boston College last week. I mean, I openly said on the video that I expected them to be flat. I anticipated them being flat, but I still thought they would cover. And if they make those 2 field goals and maybe just turn one of those other 3 field goal drives into a touchdown and then don't let the Q score with 21 seconds left, they do cover. So anyhow, Boston College all day, sprinkle in a little plus 380-ish money line as well. Okay, the rest of my plays, I had a bunch of action ready, but we've got so many postponements and cancellations. I've got a couple of Pac-12 plays, but I'm a little cautious, and this is the COVID situation in the Pac-12, especially with Utah. Give me 2, but I'm a little nervous about their COVID situation and finding out about some absences, but what an unmitigated disaster UCLA is under Chip Kelly. 7-18 straight up, 10-15 against the spread. At home, 4-9, both straight up and against the spread. I mean, they lose in Boulder last week at Colorado, who had their best running back, Alex Fontenot, out with an injury. They were playing a quarterback in Sam Neuer, who played safety for the Buffs last year. And they hung 48 on UCLA. Unreal. Unreal. Chip Kelly's career has just fallen apart. My goodness gracious. Okay, the only game, and yeah, I'm going to nibble on a little Penn State in that winless scrub game in Lincoln. The only game that I really like, really only 3 that I like in college football this week. I'm going to go with Wake Forest. They've had 2 weeks to prep for the Tar Heels. Although North Carolina's offense and Sam Howell is finally doing what I thought they would do all year, and we didn't see that offense in September. But it rounded into shape mid-late October, and North Carolina's offense is rolling. But North Carolina's playing its 7th game in 7 weeks. I know they're not as big a rival with Duke in football, but, you're coming off the Duke game. You've got Notre Dame on deck, so your look ahead. And again, North Carolina's played 7 games in 7 weeks. Wake Forest has had 2 weeks to prepare. And it's about time people recognize Dave Clawson. Man, that dude is good, man. Okay, Wake has quietly won 4 in a row, both straight up and against the spread. They've won 3 of those games by 17 or more. Again, they've had 2 weeks to prepare. As a double-digit underdog under Dave Clawson in his 7-year tenure, Wake is 19-7 against the spread with 5 outright wins. And I think I was figuring that today. I think it was 14-4 against the spread with 4 outright wins in the last 18. But there was a 5-3 record, so I tacked that on top of it. 14-4 sounds better than 19-7, but 19-7 covers his whole tenure as a double-digit dog. And whether single or double digits, Wake's last 18 as a road dog it is 13-5 against the spread. And look, Wake's got two good running backs, man. I'm talking about Kenneth Walker and Christian Beal-Smith. They've combined for 1,000 rushing yards and 15 touchdowns, both averaging better than 5 yards per carry. North Carolina starting receiver Bo Corrales is out. Excuse me. And defensive back Storm Duck is out. Starting center Brian Anderson, questionable. Starting corner Kyler McMichael is questionable. And Sam Hartman hadn't thrown an interception all year. Not one. I like Wake. Buy that hook with the key number of 14. And what else, man? So week 11, college football. Proceed with caution with all the COVID out there, but I think you can get aggressive with those three. Favorite being BC, second favorite Arkansas, third favorite Wake, and then just like an average size play on the over on Florida Arkansas. It's not a given at all with without Pitts. I'm hoping we're going to be without Pitts. My man needs to get his head right after that crazy car crash. That was wild. Maybe get you a little minor dose of Penn State. Maybe Utah, give me 2. But don't get too aggressive on that. I'm worried about the Utes COVID situation, if you will. Brian Edwards, MajorWager.com. Best luck with your bets. Over now.